Welcome back, everyone. It's time for episode 36 of the Horns Up Podcast, your weekly catch-up on all things metal. I am your host, Dan Kaplan, coming to you as always from New York. With me from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, he lies in the shadow of our pale companion. It's my friend Corey Butterworth. Corey, how's it going?
I have dreamed of the day where I could be tied to an Agalloch reference in the intro, I must say.
And it has arrived at long last. Why did we go with Agalloch this week? Tell us what you've been up to. Why? What inspired this song choice?
I did mountain-based activities with my day off on Monday. Did some solo wanderings in the snow-capped peaks of the White Mountains. Almost got myself in a little bit of trouble, but that's neither here nor there. But, 8 days of walking around the woods and the snow, and a lot of Agalloch pops onto the iPod over the course of the day. So it makes sense. It really, truly does.
It's kind of the perfect music for solo venturings through the woods, I would say. Wouldn't you think?
Especially the Mantle, just the pace of the album and everything. It's pretty much perfect for it. So I would obviously agree. That's why I like that band.
You go from that to like Soar to Panopticon. I mean, that's a hell of a musical afternoon for wandering through the woods.
That was pretty much it. It was them. It was Soar. It was Panopticon. A little bit of Winterfell with them there, and then when shit got hairy and a little bit more.
Epic?
When things got a little more epic and a little bit more, we'll put it dangerous. I got stuck in a little bit of a squall at one of the summits. That's when Primordial comes into play. So it was a wonderful musical afternoon, if nothing else.
Very cool, very cool. And how's the short week been treating you so far? I don't know about you. For me, short weeks always feel so much longer because you're expecting them to be a breeze, and then you're inevitably cramming 5 days worth of work into 4 actual days.
Oh, is
that how it is for you too?
It is. It is as a general rule. I do have a phrase where, and that kind of ties to Tuesday after a long weekend being the worst thing possible. So if somebody pisses me off enough at work, I'll say you're worse than a Tuesday after a 3-day weekend. But the thing is, it's not really fair right now because I actually have Friday off. So tomorrow is my Friday.
That's perfect.
Yeah, so I'm literally over halfway through the week, which I guess would make sense anyway because it's a Wednesday. But yeah, Vermont on Friday for a ski trip. I don't ski, but I drank a lot, so it'll be cool.
Well, don't do both at the same time. That's how you kill a Kennedy right there.
No, I will drink heavily.
Was that too soon? Was that too soon? I think it might have been.
Nah, yeah, probably it was.
It's been 20 years, whatever.
Too soon. Oh man. Anyway, but yeah, so that's happening on Friday, and I will not drink and ski. Because I don't ski, but I will drink and probably snow tube because why the dick not?
Yes.
Right?
There you go. I gotta get up to Vermont or Maine or something. Do some real skiing. Yeah. I haven't been skiing anywhere in a while, but it's been even longer since I've been to a proper ski location.
There needs to be at some point an Alpha Sigma Satan reunion in the mountains of somewhere at some point in the winter for that exact reason. Too far removed from. I absolutely think so. We will make that happen. Indeed.
But for now, let's get into our content this week. Let's move into the podcast. Yes. Starting off with a whole bunch of concert news. We have had tour announcements. We've had festival announcements, all up the wazoo. And we want to start off. We're going to talk about Mastodon and Clutch, who are going to be going around in the spring on their Missing Link tour. Now, they're going to be alternating as headliners. The tour includes a stop here locally at Central Park Summer Stage, which I think is going to be a blast. That's awesome. Thursday in May. Those two playing Central Park, I mean, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, it is.
I'm sorry.
No, it fucking is. It really is.
That'll be all right. I know they're coming to either Boston or Worcester a couple days before, pulling out all the stops here. Now, I know we've both been to see Mastodon before. Corey, have you ever seen Clutch? Are you a Clutch fan?
I have not seen Clutch. I have no strong opinion towards Clutch one way or another. I will say, I guess if I had to pick a side, it would be favorably towards them. It's just not a band I've gotten into. I will obviously go to the show. The show is in Boston, and it is at the House of Blues, which is where we will be seeing Behemoth next month, about a month from today, actually, a little more than that. So I'll definitely be there, and I think it's actually a Sunday night, which isn't that bad, because my biggest issue with like weeknight shows is getting to the show after work. That's always a pain in the ass after a long day. So I'm all for this. This is gonna be dope. I can stay up all night and go to work on Monday. That doesn't even matter. But it's a can't miss show either way.
Yeah, that'll be fun. I went to see Clutch with our good buddy Mike.
Right.
Around this time last year. And this was notable for me because they came through with it was Clutch and the Sword.
Nice.
So cool, Bill.
Yeah.
This was notable for me because this was my first experience. This concert was my first experience trying brownies. And by brownies, you know what kind of brownies I mean.
The good kind.
Yeah. I don't smoke. I have never smoked anything, but I allowed myself to try brownies, and I had 3 before this show.
Jesus, dude, that's super aggressive.
That aggressive is the best way to put it. I don't remember a thing. Actually, no, that's not true. I remember the struggle I had trying to go to the bathroom and trying to walk the 10 steps to the bathroom. That was hard. I remember that part. But yeah, so I am looking forward to seeing Clutch again in a proper frame of mind.
For the first time. Seeing Clutch again for the first time. Yep.
Yeah. You know, they were touring Earth Rocker back then, and I think they're still touring Earth Rocker, and I loved the Earth Rocker album. That was one of my favorites of 2013, almost 2 years ago it came out. Yeah. So yeah, I would not mind at all seeing those songs played again. So that'll be fun. Again, that's coming through April and May, so we will definitely be looking to check that out. Next up, a tour that I can't really say I'm as enthusiastic for, and by not as enthusiastic I mean probably not enthusiastic at all, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Slipknot and Hatebreed, the ex-Ozfest Mainstay MVP tour. Actually, that's not what it's really called, but I don't know what it is called.
Hatebreed counts.
Slipknot and Hatebreed are going to be heading out on a short run, also in late April, early May. This is going to be part of Slipknot's world tour in support of Point Five, the Grey chapter, which is taking them to Europe,
everywhere,
Australia, a whole bunch of other places. Yep. Domestically, they're mainly keeping to the smaller markets. I think there was an Erie, Pennsylvania date in there. There were some Wisconsin dates. Some of the tour dates, there's one in Jacksonville at a venue called Welcome to Rockville.
Kill yourselves, Jacksonville.
Yeah.
All of you. Just all of you. No one needs that.
Where's it at? Oh, it's at Welcome to Rockville, man. Like, there's no way to not sound lame.
That makes my heart hurt.
Yeah. They're also going to be playing at Ohio's Rock on the Range Festival.
Okay,
which,
yeah, I know about that.
Barf.
Yeah, whatever. Whatever. We're not talking about that right now.
Home of like aging has-been new metal and metalcore bands.
Yeah, right.
You know, that'll be fun. So yeah, I mean, if Slipknot and Hatebreed are your thing, check that out, I guess.
I will not be.
I don't know. I will not be either. Speaking of shitty red state rock festivals and has-been new metal festivals, Rocklahoma also announced its lineup for 2015. Red state rock festivals that make you go barf. Rocklahoma announced its lineup for 2015, and I shit you not, folks, your top 4 billed bands for Rocklahoma are, you ready for this? Give me a drum roll. Linkin Park, Tesla, Godsmack, and Slayer.
Oh my god, that's...
What year are we in?
I don't know, but I'm seeing...
No, seriously, I'm dead serious. What year are we in? Because we have Linkin Park and Godsmack from like the late 90s, early aughts, and we have Tesla and Slayer from the 80s. Like, what are you going for?
I see Breaking Benjamin, I see Papa Roach. I don't understand what's happening.
Like, I can't think of anything else to say. I don't even think I need to say anything else. That lineup is enough of a joke as is. Like,
what is...
This is just terrible. Like, the thing is like, you know, it's going to sell out. You know, there are going to be people that eat this shit
Of course
up.
they are, because people are fucking stupid. And I didn't realize there's a band called Sabaton versus Sabaton, which just also, not that I like either band. I'm sure I hate Sabaton, but that's just stupid.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else do we have here? This is... no, I don't want to look. I don't want to look at this anymore. This is fucking stupid. This is all worthless to me. Jesus.
Just like,
God damn it, Oklahoma.
Like Linkin Park and Godsmack, I understand. Like, if you're into that kind of thing, then I guess fine. Those are 2 good bands to get. Slayer, a lot of people still like Slayer, fine. But Tesla as the number 2 billed band? Tesla?
No.
What?
No.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I love me some Tesla, but I don't want to see them at the number 2 billed band
Anywhere.
Any festival, any time. Like, even in their heyday, I wouldn't want to see them as the 2nd billed band.
Yeah, because it's still Tesla. I don't care how much you like them. They're Tesla. It's like Styx. Who gives a shit? I don't fuck it.
I mean, even on Grand Theft Auto Vice City V-Rock station, they're still like the 8th or 9th song on the V-Rock playlist. They're not number 2. And they work very well as the 8th or 9th billed band, but not number 2. I'm sorry. Rocklahoma, I can't even recommend going to it. If you go to it, you're a fucking idiot. Finally,
oh, shit.
Finally, I want to talk about one that you brought up today in our quickies. Yep. We had another round of bands announced for New England metal and hardcore, which this latest wave includes our darlings, Allegiant.
Yeah.
So I have to ask, are you going to go again?
Yes. Yes, I am. And the thing is, there's actually better bands on Saturday. Saturday's not that bad of a lineup, but when you think about it. Rivers of Neil, Allegiant, Vital Remains, sure, why not? But then, the Testament, Exodus, Nuclear Assault. I mean,
Nuclear Assault, Extinction AD, my local boys.
Extinction AD. So I mean, yeah.
Even Friday, you've got BT Bam, you've got Atlas Moth. There's Red Chord. I mean, there's some good stuff there.
Yeah,
it's just Sunday.
It's Sundays,
and then there's Sunday. There's headlined by Motionless in White, which that's all you need. Those are the 5 words you need to hear. Headlined by Motionless in White,
followed by Kill Yourselves. Theme of the day. I'll go to Saturday. I mean, why the hell not? It's April. Saturday before the Boston Marathon. Fuck it, I'll still go. I think I went to see Behemoth like the day before the Boston Marathon, so why the hell not?
Yeah. You're a trooper. You'll make it
well,
happen.
I mean, worst case scenario, Testament and Exodus are fine. I'm not too hung up one way or another. The good news is some of the other bands that, we give a shit, obviously Extinction AD is a band, you've had me check out, which is a good thing. Rivers of Neil, who you've seen and all that nonsense. And then Allegiant, who I think was probably one of the more fun shows I've seen, not just last year, but in the last couple of years, despite its small venue and whatever. That'll all be said and done by like 7 or 8. So I see no reason not to just say what the hell. I'll go see 3 or 4 bands that I like for a day. We'll see.
Yeah,
I always go to at least one day, I guess. Which whatever.
There you go. I have got to see Allegiant at some point. They came through. They came through here. I think the same tour you saw them on. And I was tied up. I couldn't make it out.
It was.
I think it was because it was a Sunday night. It was a Sunday night at Santos Party House here, and I was just like, I really can't.
I think it was because I saw them on a Thursday night, which worked out nicely because they're in Boston right after my shift at work. And dude, I got so messed up, and I was just freaking out. I was all over the place. We were talking about moshing last week. This is one of those situations where I was just drunk and fucked up enough to be all into it. There's like 50 people at this venue. I mean, it was a really small, quaint thing, and I'm just going nuts. But yeah, they were awesome live. I mean, they played all the good shit. I don't know. It's a band everybody's got to see at least once, just for the sheer, rush of it kind of thing.
Definitely on my list. I will agree there. Hopefully they come around again soon. Yeah. So yeah, that's our glut of tour news for the week. I imagine there's probably still more coming, but as we hear it, you will too. Next up, I want to talk about a song premiere that we got yesterday, Tuesday, that made quite a few waves over the internet. For some reason or other, I want to talk about Liturgy.
Oh, I know why.
And their new song Quetzalcoatl. Now I know you listen to this. Give me a ballpark. How many seconds did you make it?
Well,
through?
you said before we started recording this, just to give everybody the full story here. You said, we'll pause this for 3 minutes, just jump in and give it a listen. It's 3 or 4 minutes long. I listened to the first 10 seconds, skip till about the minute and a half mark, listen to another 3 seconds, and said, nope, I'm out. So 13 seconds thereabouts I've listened to.
Yeah. I see. I really did not know what to make of this.
It's fucking stupid.
Oh wait, yes I did. It's dog shit.
Stupid.
Like, I hadn't really listened to Liturgy before, so I heard this and I was like really bewildered. So I went back and I gave some of their back catalog a listen. They have an album called Aesthetica. Listen to that on Spotify, and wouldn't you know it, that's crap too. Like, take just for those who aren't familiar with liturgy, folks,
Keep it that way.
Everything. Number one, keep it that way. But if I had to describe it to you, take everything you don't want to hear in a song. I mean, I'm not just talking a metal song. I'm talking any song.
Yeah.
We have MIDI swells. We have stuff that sounds like a cassette tape being fast forwarded. We have completely offbeat drumming. We have these like stupid, disaffected 90s style indie rock vocals. Just,
Yeah.
it's the worst. It's like, and for as highly as their vocalist / band leader, Hunter Hunt Hendricks. Yes, that's his real name. Hunter Hunt Hendricks. For as highly as he thinks of himself, he's written entire essays about how his band is like transcendental black metal and that no other black metal is anywhere near the level of his stuff.
Right, because they write
Like,
music.
Yeah, he's just basically a pretentious piece of shit. For as highly as he thinks of himself, I mean, I gotta say, his music kind of sounds like what would happen if you gave Helen Keller a Pro Tools rig and said, "Here, Helen, have fun."
Oh, the visuals that I have in my mind right now are just amazing.
They have an album coming out. I don't remember the name of it. I don't particularly care. I can't say I will be listening to any more Liturgy anytime soon. Thanks very much. Triple H, Hunter Hunt Hendricks, you do your thing, I guess. Best of luck to you, dude.
Oh, God.
And so if you thought I was, folks, I got to say, we're going into our final headline for this week. And if you thought I wasn't animated enough for these first two, just wait till we get into this one. This one's going to be fun. Corey, let's talk about Phil Labonte. Why don't we?
I would love to.
Some news from the All the Remains frontman made waves over the internet earlier today, Wednesday. He suggested during an interview with Revolver magazine, I think for a either current or upcoming cover story, suggested during an interview with Revolver that the LGBT community doesn't have as much ground to worry about slurs as the black community does. Because this is certainly a door we want to open. Here's a quote from Blabbermouth explaining the situation. Quote, after mentioning the 2005 use of the word faggot on a DVD, Labonte said, "I have nothing against gay people. It's just a word. I think the only people that have a legit grievance when it comes to any racial slurs is the black community." Adding that he was not trying to minimize the plight of the LGBT community, he continued that, quote, homosexuals were never property, and that even though they, quote, have had a rough time, the, quote, black community has a whole lot more room to be upset about a word than the LGBT community.
Did the Holocaust not happen?
Great. Good job.
Really?
Phil. Nice work.
Jesus
nice work.
Christ.
So a number of people have called him out on this. We saw Axel from Metal Sucks really rip him.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Good for Axel. Rob Flynn from Machine Head, his former touring partner, called him out in the General Diaries, the General Journals, of whatever he calls them. Of course, Revolver didn't, because they're a magazine for fucking morons.
Yeah.
But yeah, there was a big, there was a giant outcry today on the internet. People rightfully calling him out for this nonsense. And so, of course, Phil then responded to the criticism against him, because this is just what we need. We need more Phil right now. That's just what I want to hear. So here's what he had to say. Quote, "Seen a lot of brouhaha on the interwebs about the Revolver article. Of course, lots of people are saying I should be beat up or killed, or I should kill myself. So basically, the blogs and commenters on said blogs are saying this, quote, freedom of speech so long as you don't offend me, unquote. So these people are of the same mindset of the people who said the Charlie Hebdo attacks in Paris were justified because some things are just too offensive. I fully understand that to some people it is offensive to hear the word faggot. I get it. You're fragile and words give you ouchies. But remember what you're asking for when you decry protecting the freedom of speech."
So wait. People can't criticize him. What's happening?
Number one. I'm gonna give a point by point shoot.
That'd be fucking wonderful, because I'm completely lost with this idiot.
Number one, Phil's initial comments are fucking moronic. Oh, look, a straight white American guy from Boston. This guy has to be the authority.
Cutting you off. He is from Chicopee. Chicopee is not Boston. Chicopee is western Massachusetts on the Connecticut border, the worst part of the state.
Chinkopee, fine. A straight white American guy from Chinkopee. He's got to be the authority on reasonable response for oppressed minorities. Sure. Yeah, let's go to him for all the answers on this nonsense. But then after being rightfully called out for opening his face like a fucking useless sack of shit, he brings up freedom of speech. My favorite, invoking freedom of speech when you clearly don't have any idea how the amendment works. Number one, the First Amendment applies to the government, Phil. You fuckwit. Last I checked, the government was not abridging your right to freedom of speech when these bloggers called a spade and called you an asshole. Right. Number two, here's the fun thing about how freedom of speech works. While it gives you the right to word vomit all over the place, it also gives us the right to criticize you for it. It's a two-way street. You are a brainless abortion of a human being. There's my freedom of speech. How do you like that? Okay? Go back and make your shitty All That Remains diarrhea and feed it to your little closeted racist right-wing sycophants, Phil. We do not want to hear from you anymore.
This isn't like the first time he's just spat garbage on people either. I mean, first of all, he's probably the most ignorant human being I've ever seen grace any of the websites or publications we follow, period. He just has no clue, just nothing up there at all. And he's going to say, oh, I don't care what you think, but then he's responding with like these stupid fucking whatever.
Yeah, clearly you do, Phil.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is, like, on top of all this, same thing happened last year where he just, I don't know, he called out the genre of metal by saying, All That Remains is far and beyond metal now. We're musicians or something like that.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
It's like, dude, just at some point, just stop using words forever. Just blabber into a microphone for 90-minute sets and just nobody wants to hear
Phil. Here's what you do, Phil. Fly out to California, get Dave Mustaine, lock yourselves in a closet, and just circle jerk each other until you both pass out or die. I mean, maybe that'd be better. Then, like, go get hit by a truck. I don't know. That's the other. You have two choices: circle jerk with Dave Mustaine or hit by a truck.
The second one's much more efficient.
Yeah,
just saying.
I can't with this dude anymore. He's just like, fuck.
Yeah, he's an idiot. I mean, I don't really. Whatever. All I want to take this opportunity though to give a little bit of a shout out to Rob Flynn, because this guy spat some real words. I know you mentioned to it the General Journal's Diary of a Frontman that he will ramble on sometimes every so often, and the shit that he actually talks about is so intellectual and so cohesive, and he actually sounds like a knowledgeable, intelligent human being.
Well, he sounds like A, he has a brain, and B, he uses it every once in a while.
Right, and I mean, exactly. And I love the fact that he called out Phil Labonte. I'm trying to find the quote real quick, just for the sake of discussion here. Let's see. Okay, and then as I was writing this, and this is in quotes, and then as I was writing this, someone sent me Phil Labonte from All That Remains ignorant ass worldviews from his Revolver magazine cover story. What the fuck, metalsucks.net rightfully slammed him, and good for them, and shame on Revolver for not. That's pretty efficient. That's pretty much how I feel about the whole situation.
He also talks about Selma and just, I mean, starting with going back to the 60s and the Voting Rights Act, because I think the post, if I remember correctly, the post started with him having just gotten out of seeing Selma. Yeah,
he went to see it for Martin Luther King Monday. And honestly, I say this to everybody, when you get a chance, just spend 5 minutes and read it. It's actually really impressive, and he has some really interesting views and perspectives on recent events and some stuff that you see argued about and talked about and brought up every single day on the news. The guy's a smart man. He's got some pretty good insight. So it's worth the 5 minutes of time to see what he has to say.
Rob Flynn's got to be a top 5 dude I would want to get a beer with.
Absolutely. And the thing is,
as opposed to Phil Labonte, who's a top 5 probably gets his ass kicked by a girl list.
Yeah, he does wear affliction shirts to his shows,
and have both of his nipples pierced.
Yeah. Wait. Huh? I could draw. Nope, not gonna. I'm gonna steer from that path right now.
I know where you were going with
that. You do know where I was going with that. And I'm just gonna cut myself off real quick. No, but you can get a sense of that too. And that's the thing about Rob Flynn is, You can tell he's an intellectual through both, what he talks about and also like in his music and some of the lyrics he uses. And Dan, I know you didn't think as highly of Bloodstone and Diamonds as I did.
Well, no, but even with that, Machine Head is one of those bands like I will always have respect for them.
Right, but even in like some of their instrumentals, like there was one instrumental called "The Imaginal Cells" on that album where you can just tell through, and there's like some spoken lyrics in the background, but it's all just there's so much meaning behind everything he says and does, and that he puts forth, and it's actually really refreshing. So, props to him, Phil Labonte. You can suck his dick? Question mark.
I'm not even going to anymore. The steam has finally like stopped coming out of my ears, so I'm not going to like regurgitate it and keep it going again.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, so that'll wrap up our headlines for the week, and we are now, how many minutes in are we? We are 25 minutes in. That was a nice ranty headline section.
I honestly expect it to be longer, just considering the topics of discussion. So I think we were relatively effective in our way of getting through that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was a nice little chunk of time. That was fun.
I agree. So with all that out of the way, let's move into some new releases for the week. Again, we have just 2 for you here on the podcast, but a lot more up on the blog. Been a bit of a busy week for the reviews.
Yep.
Corey, why don't you start us off? I want to hear about the Obscure Infinity album. Tell us about Perpetual Descending into Nothingness.
All right.
Tell us about Not Grammar.
Since you started with Not Grammar, I'm going to do the same. So I got to rag on these guys a little bit. But, guys, Grammar. Perpetual Descending into Nothingness. 2 suggestions here. Maybe Perpetually Descending into Nothingness or
Perpetual Descent
into Nothingness. Just anything else. Just throw different letters in different places and you might come up with a winner. And there's also a song on here called The Uttermost Descent, which Utmost Descent, maybe a little bit, just a tiny little bit. I don't know, maybe a little bit better. I don't know.
Well, they're from Germany. Maybe it's just lost in translation.
Yeah, you think maybe English might be their second language.
No, really.
But what's so funny is when I read these phrases and I see these titles, I immediately think to myself, or I immediately picture like this big Bavarian guy, this big German guy trying to say these phrases with English.
Not the case.
It just comes out exactly like it reads. Anyway, that's enough of that. This album I thought was, and I've talked about this with you briefly beforehand. I don't want to say I didn't have a ton of hope for it, but I had some preconceived notions of what I thought it would be. I figured it was going to be, German death metal band. Lyrical themes are all about the same stuff that every death metal album's about. I expect this to just be kind of like just another, run-of-the-mill death metal album that, we listen to 17 times a year. It wasn't, though. It wasn't. It was actually pretty enjoyable. They brought in some different... What's kind of cool is it was very clearly a death metal record, but they brought in some different death metal styles. There's a little bit of a tech death theme going on, some roots definitely in like the Gothenburg scene, but they also brought in some like melodic stuff as well. So they did a nice job, bringing, even though it was very much death metal, it stretched out to some of the other, tangents that genre can go into. And then also the song structures were almost felt like a black metal album. They weren't your, verse, chorus, breakdown, chorus kind of thing. They're all a little different, a lot of deviation there, which is pretty cool. A lot of time changes. The musicianship.
It's always good, especially if you're working in a relatively like a genre that's relatively familiar and played out by this point.
Right, exactly. And that's what I figured this would be. Like I had things to do when I started listening to this, figuring I was gonna need to be entertained while listening to this because it wouldn't do it for me. And that wasn't the case. Like I mentioned, some nice solos, some really impressive riffage. It had a nice feel to it. There were, the first few songs, you kind of felt that you knew immediately where the album was going in. There was some stuff that just, not a whole lot of deviation from song to song, even if the songs themselves were kind of unique to the genre kind of thing. But there were some, like, for example, the second half of Sorcery of the Black Souls, which is like the first real song, following the intro, which is awful. I'll get into that in a second. Where about halfway through, everything just kind of stops and takes this really almost ambient melodic feel to it, just really emotionally charged darkness, and it's really, really cool. And they do that a few times over the course of the album. Honestly, my favorite song in the whole thing was Beyond Spheres and Time, which is the closing track. Same idea, just this feeling of sorrow and darkness, which you don't always necessarily get from a death metal album. Usually a death metal album is just, a punch in the face, the aggression's there, but this had just a different feel to it in a lot of ways. So it was good. I mean, yeah, it's 42 minutes. It listened like almost like an hour-long album. It did feel a little bit long, no question about it. But there's enough deviation there. I was actually pleasantly surprised. I got to touch on the intro briefly. It's called Entering the Hall of Eternity, and it just sounded like it was trying so hard to be, you'll have to help me out here with the title of the track. I think it's just 1981, actually, the intro to Surgical Steel.
1985.
1985, yeah. It was just trying so hard to be that, but it was just so bad. It was so, there was no cohesiveness to it. The melody, like the harmonies were just so off. It was cluttered, and it just kind of like fell clumsily into the next track, which fortunately enough, the next track and the rest of the tracks were pretty good, but it was a bit of an awkward start. I was like, this isn't gonna go well. And then it kind of did. It's not gonna be the most memorable album I listened to this year. They didn't do a ton to really break the mold or do anything super aggressive or super radical as far as death metal goes, but they did a nice job of bringing in different death metal elements and different subgenres of death metal into the album, especially some really nice, really tasteful symphonic elements. So overall, it was definitely a pleasant listen. It was a fun listen, and yeah, it's definitely a positive listen. I would recommend giving it a listen at some point. 42 minutes, it's not that long of a span of time.
I've got it on my Spotify. I will admit I did not get around to it yet, but it's on my list. So yeah. Again, the band is Obscure Infinity. The album Perpetual Descending into Nothingness, Perpetual Not Grammar. It's out
Perpetual
now
Not Grammar.
It's out now on FDA Records, whatever that is. So yeah, check it out. Now, my big album of the week, the album that was the most pleasant of surprises, I would say. I took a listen to the new Marilyn Manson record. It's called The Pale Emperor, and it is his first since 2012's Born Villain. Now, did you get a chance to listen to this at all? Are you familiar with it at all? Or
I did go through it once a couple hours ago, and I gotta say, I mean, I'll let you speak to it the most, but I did enjoy it. I thought it had a nice little bit of a more almost like a somber, dark feel to it, which is kind of cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'll let you take the lead. Go for it.
Yeah. No, I mean, so I will say, I mean, Manson was big when we were kids. I mean, we had, the big hits, whether it's Beautiful People or Fight Song or Disposable Teens, you name it, The Dope Show. Yeah. I mean, when those were those were his hits in our formative music listening years. So like I've always had Manson in the back of my mind, but I'll be honest, like I hadn't listened to him in several years. I mean, really since probably the Golden Age of Grotesque was the last album of his I had listened to. Yeah. And so his stuff had just gotten tired. It just didn't really, it had lost its edge. And this album, The Pale Emperor, I don't want to say it brings the edge back, but it restores it in a different way. I mean, it takes the vulnerability that he's sort of found from all this stuff going on in his personal life that sort of turned his music into this somber state that it was. It uses that vulnerability as an asset. And he put together this really awesome, really bluesy, kind of melancholic record. Yeah. And it's wonderful. I mean, I just really like, it's his best album in probably at the very least 12 years.
Yeah. I was gonna say at least a decade.
Yeah. I mean, we're talking, there's Third Day of a 7-Day Binge is just, it's like this fantastic, like creepy, haunting, like almost like bizarre hymnal type thing. There's a song Cupid Carries a Gun that was fantastic. He's just going about his stuff a little bit differently here. And it really, really paid dividends. I found myself just going back to this again and again. Now there is one song on it, one of the advanced singles called Deep Six that was pretty edgy, pretty rocking. But for the most part, he's pretty set in these mid-tempo numbers, these like kind of bluesy, haunting, melodic, just trips, really. I mean, they are like trips. So it's a really great listen. He sounds revitalized. He sounds more comfortable in his element than he's been in a while.
I was gonna say, it almost feels like he sort of deconstructed his sound and just rebuilt something that's just a little bit more emotionally charged and just a little bit more depth to it. And it's so apparent, and what he's trying to do with this album is just so obvious, which is really refreshing. And you're right. It's good. It's good. I'll be going back to it frequently the rest of the week. I mean, which I don't usually say about Marilyn Manson albums, to be honest with you.
Well, he's always been one of those. I mean, like, in the last several years at least, he's always been one of those. Like, he's one of those artists that I respect and I have nostalgia value for. But like, I can't. I find it hard to take seriously as a contemporary act, mainly because his new stuff had all been kind of disappointing up to this point. But dude's got my attention again. Right. I gotta say, this was a fun listen. I highly encourage you all to check it out yourselves. Again, it's called The Pale Emperor. It is Marilyn Manson's, I believe, ninth full length, and it's out now on his own label, Hell Etc. So check it out. It's on Spotify. You know what to do. That will wrap up album reviews. Again, I mentioned earlier, we have a whole bunch of other stuff on the site. We have a review from Kaina, one of the new Hateful Abandon. I had fun with my Marduk review today. I basically live blogged it. I didn't actually do a traditional review of their new album, Frontschwein.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, so check it out. All those are on hornsupmetalshow.com, our blog, and they are tagged reviews. So give them a read. Moving on, I want to move into our final segment. We're almost wrapped up for the night. Horns Up, Horns Down. Corey, tell me what you got for Horns Up. What's making you happy this week?
I mean, I could talk about how the Detroit Red Wings have won 5 straight and are just destroying the NHL right now, but I'll refrain from hockey talk because we're talking to Dan here. He needs his NBA, and so we'll refrain from combative sports right now. You mean the best thing ever?
Whatever. Whatever,
Hey, hockey is to New England like football is to England. I mean, I went for a jog on Sunday, and by jog I mean 13 miles. And every
just a casual jog, no big deal.
But what was actually pretty cool is like every pond I went by, there was like 10 or 12 people just like playing pickup hockey, like pond hockey, which is kind of cool. It really is.
That's cool
from a community perspective, kind of thing. It's a big deal here. But what I'm going to actually talk about is I'm going to give a little bit of a shout out to a friend I met during my time in Munich. This was prior to making the trek north to Wacken. There was one day where all you do in Munich really is just drink in various beer gardens throughout the day. I mean, that's just kind of what life is there if you're not working.
It's a tough existence.
It's a horrible existence. I could barely survive. No, literally, I almost died from alcoholism. Anyway, so there was one day we went to the Augustiner Beer Garden, which was close to our hostel in a really good location. And we walked in, me and my buddy Doug, and these two people, they were, I can't remember if they were dating or married, one or the other, obviously. And, they were speaking English, and they heard us speaking English, like, oh, just join our table because we're drunk and we don't give a shit, we'll meet strangers. So we went over and we hung out with them. And this girl, her name's Carrie Ann Hudson, she's an artist. And she's an artist of kind of like weird, creepy, dark stuff. Like her sticker, like her primary sticker for like our business cards, for example, is this really demonic picture of Waldo with like blood all over him and a pitchfork, and it says "I dare you to find me" or something like that. It's just super creepy. It's awesome. But she, I picked up some of her stuff on her website. She does have a website, carrieannhudson.com. Ink work. She does this really cool, which I might, I've got some bucks in my PayPal account. I might invest in it, but she's got this ceramic skull that she made that she actually painted like a cemetery scene around. Creepiest thing ever.
Yeah, I remember going on the website and looking at that. Yeah, that was cool.
It's fucking awesome. Which we'll see. If anybody snags from underneath me, I will end you. But it's pretty cool, and she does some good stuff. I bought a couple inkings. They're all like 5x7 or 6x6 or whatever. So, they'll go up on my wall. It's good stuff. If you like dark art, which, I do, because God forbid there's happiness in my life. She does some pretty cool stuff that's worth checking out. So I figured I'd give her a quick shout. Carrie Ann Hudson from San Diego, California.
www.carrieannhudson.com.
Yep, out of San Diego.
Anne is Anne.
Yes.
Carrie, Carrie. So.
Right. Also on Facebook.
Give it a look.
All the other stuff.
Yeah. Give it a look. There's some really cool stuff on there.
Yep.
So, well, that's cool. Yeah, I definitely enjoyed looking at some of her stuff. My horns up. I was gonna go one way with it, and I know we talked about this. I was going to talk about Parks and Rec, which is back and which is wonderful as always. However, I went to see a movie this past weekend that I just have not been able to get out of my head because it was just the most adorable thing in the world.
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. Come to Horns Up, get your dose of adorable. I went to see the movie Big Hero 6. Have you seen this? Are you familiar with it at all?
Not even at all.
All right. So the full story. My friend Grace and I, Grace Griffin, who was on Have You Found Metal in episode 34.
Yep.
We went to see Selma this past weekend, and Selma was an amazing movie. And after getting out, I hated the Academy even more for not nominating it for more awards.
Yep.
Just fantastic movie. Just inspirational story. Horribly depressing story. I walked out of that movie. I walked out of that movie with two prevailing thoughts. Number one, I hate being a white person, and number two, I want to go to Alabama and take a giant dump on George Wallace's grave. So spirits were low, let's just say, after watching that movie and watching the atrocities that were brought to film in that movie, and I needed something to lift my spirits. So we walked across the street. In Times Square, there are two theaters. There's an AMC and a Regal right across the street from each other. So we walked from the AMC over to the Regal, bought tickets for Big Hero 6. We were like, let's see a kids movie. Let's get back in a good mood. And dear Lord, did this movie ever put me in a good mood. Big Hero 6, without too many spoilers, it's the story of a little tech whiz, this 15-year-old kid who's a tech whiz who, through a series of events, comes to possess this pet health robot who becomes his friend, and they work together with a series of other tech whizzes to turn themselves into superheroes and fight just this giant villain, this super villain who is destroying. It takes place in a town called San Francisco, which is obviously a combination of San Francisco and Tokyo.
Yeah.
This bad guy is trying to destroy San Francisco, and they do what they can to put a stop to him. This pet robot is it's a character called Baymax, and it's just the most wonderful thing in the world. I don't want to spoil too much. He's designed as a healthcare robot, but to normalize him and to get him to do superhero things, they have to program him, like they have to teach him how to shake hands and how to speak different words and stuff. And the whole process is just absolutely hysterical. There's a scene where he has a low battery that is probably one of my favorite scenes in any animated movie ever. So, yeah, highly recommend it. If you're looking for a movie to watch Big Hero 6 because it's just the best.
That went in a direction I did not expect, I must say.
I know. I didn't really expect it either, but I just could not get this movie out of my head, and I wanted to talk about it. So that's my horns up. Big Hero 6, I believe it's still in theaters depending on where you are. If not, it'll probably be out on do people still use DVDs, Blu-rays? It'll be out for home consumption next month.
Oh, home consumption, that's like alcohol for me.
Yeah, right. So that'll do it for Horns Up. Horns Down. Now, I believe both have the same horns down this week. Am I right?
You're right, but I want to say that I'm all caught up on Vikings, which is the best show on TV of all time, and now I'm sad.
That's a slight horns down. It's a lighter-hearted horns down compared to what we are going to be talking about. Am I correct?
It absolutely is, but I'm still sad. I don't get my Vikings every day for the next 2 months like it has been.
I didn't even know that show was still on, to be honest.
It's the best.
Does it have Johan Hegg?
It may as well have a lot of Johan Heggs.
Does it have Johan Hegg?
No.
Then it's not the best. I'm sorry.
I need to watch that movie at some point. See, I'm trying to talk lately here because I know I'm just going to get super angry in about 3 minutes, so the longer this persists, the better. So Vikings is a good show that everybody should watch. Johan Hegg is a guy that isn't the best at doing his own band, if anybody watched Quickies from yesterday. Just saying. But yes, we have the same horns down. I'll let you introduce it.
I'll introduce it. So our horns down. As you guys all know by now, Corey and I are pretty big sports fans. Me less so lately, but we like our sports. And there was this is going back to last week now, but we had to talk about it. Some news out of the college football world, where the NCAA announced that it was going to be restoring the vacated football wins to the Penn State football program, and to just embattled, disgraced head coach Joe Paterno. You remember Joe Paterno came to be disgraced for his handling of a child sex scandal involving one of his assistant coaches, and just widespread administrative failure to act. This is going back a little more than 3 years ago now. Initially, Penn State was banned from postseason appearances, banned from bowl games for 4 years. They were fined $60 million. They had a reduction in scholarships, you name it. Flash forward, here we are now. It's 2015, so what would be going into the 4th year of their punishment. They had their postseason ban revoked after 2 years, number one. Number two, they just had their wins restored. And number three, they have been, they've begun restoring their football scholarships to the program. So for those keeping score, they're out for a widespread, probably several years, if not decades long, child sex abuse scandal involving their coaches, involving, members of the administration trying to cover it up. Their penalty came to a grand total of $160 million fine, which, and let's be real, their college football program, they'll make that up in half a season with fundraising and boosters and everything anyway. So the message I'm getting from this, and maybe some people out there are interpreting it differently. If they are, then I worry for their mental sanity. The message I'm getting from this is, kid rape is really bad, but football.
Yep.
That's what I'm getting out of this. We're in a society that values a college sport, that values entertainment
Dollar bills
higher than the health and well-being of preteen boys.
Dan, I gotta start because one of the biggest arguments and one of the biggest conflictions among people regarding this issue is how at fault Penn State and the administration was. I take it that you are not of the deluded minds that say Penn State did everything they could and it was completely on Sandusky. He's in jail now, but everything should go back to normal. I take it you're not of that mindset, like some of the other ridiculous people I've seen comment on various posts and news articles.
Well, I'm of the mindset. I am not of that mindset. My mindset with this is while it happened at Penn State, that doesn't mean it couldn't have happened elsewhere. This is the product of a society that puts football above everything, above education, above clearly the well-being of young boys.
Right.
And my approach to this was that the only way to, from my end, I was in favor of an even steeper initial punishment than they got.
Yeah, so
I was hoping they would. What? Go ahead.
I know what you're about to say. And I'm going to ask a question. So in the past, there was not too far into the past. There was it SMU that suffered the death penalty? Do you remember what that was for?
It escapes me at the moment.
I'm going to Google it right now because I would like to just draw comparisons to what they received the death penalty for versus the punishment that Penn State dealt with for the innocence and the well-being of children.
Not maintaining the innocence and well-being of children.
It's how is a program allowed to exist? Honestly, with this kind of a situation, and I'm sorry, I'm not of those that say, "Oh, the rest of the program did nothing wrong. Paterno did nothing wrong. It was all Sandusky. It was all Sandusky." No, this needs to be. I'm calm. This went on for so long, and it was reported, and nothing happened for so many years. What was the final count?
They fired him, but then they still allowed him to access the campus and to use the facilities.
47 counts? Something like that? 47 counts? It was in the 40s.
Yeah.
It was in the 40s.
Something obscene.
$60 million. Do you have any idea how much revenue a football team of Penn State's magnitude generates on a given game day? They'd make $60 million back net within 4 games.
They generate enough. Penn State football generates enough to, it has long generated enough to fund their entire rest of their athletic program.
Okay. So the most serious violation, and I'm going to use Wikipedia here because I'm lazy and just want to get the news out here.
Sure.
Dealing with Southern Methodist University, the most serious violation was the maintenance of a slush fund used for under-the-table payments to players from the mid-1970s through 1986. So
well, we all know how the NCAA feels about paying players.
Oh no, we paid
God
players.
God forbid you pay the players that make you millions and millions every year.
Can I just, and I don't want to draw comparisons because they're different. They're different situations and they're different violations. But Dan, can you honestly tell me that paying a student who does nothing but bring money into a university is worse for a program than having a coach be convicted of 40 plus counts of child molestation? How does this work? How does this work?
I'll give you something more recent than that. The guys at Ohio State who got free tattoos.
Right.
Free fucking tattoos. And they got a 2-year postseason ban.
Yeah.
Like what I was getting at with this is when this all first came out, I was of the opinion that that Penn State should absolutely have gotten the death penalty because while it happened at Penn State, that does not mean at all that it couldn't have happened elsewhere.
Right.
It is part of a greater culture, a greater collegiate athletic culture where football is God. Football is above everything else. And the only way I felt that would really make a dent in that culture would be to cancel the program for maybe not forever, but for at least a year.
Yeah. This was an opportunity.
Have them get their priorities in order.
This was an opportunity. This was an opportunity for the NCAA to step up and say, this is where our priorities are at. Our priorities are not for football. It is for the well-being of children, of people. And they fucked it all up.
Well, they don't give a shit.
All of it. They proved that. This was an opportunity for them to show they actually gave a shit and give them, because I'm at this.
They don't give a shit. They only care about looking like they give a shit.
Well, they fucked that up too. Then I mean, honestly, I was within this close to just saying, don't care about college sports anymore. It's a joke. The NCAA is a fucking disaster. It's absolutely ludicrous at this point. And this was an opportunity for them to step up and say, hey, not only do we try to pretend to give a shit, we actually give a shit. Penn State, I don't care how big your program is, I don't care how much money you generate for the NCAA or whatever, 3-year death penalty. No football. Gone. See ya. Yeah. And they just fucking shit the bed. And they gave them what they said was they termed it as a extremely severe, and I know a lot of people saw it as worse than the death penalty, penalty to the actual school itself, which is bullshit. And then they just gave it all back. Once things kind of calmed down, they just gave it all fucking back.
Oh,
Are you fucking kidding me?
If we're keeping score, the grand total of punishments for widespread institutional cover-up of child abuse, of child sex abuse, was 2 missed bowl games and a $60 million fine.
Yep.
Big friggin' whoop. I mean, and this is where I, because this was so tough for me because I grew up rooting for Penn State, and this is where I really started to question my past association, but also my ever associating with them in the future, was the fan base. How I don't want to say unanimously, but 95% of the fan base reacted to this so completely irrationally.
Yeah.
We have like Joe Paterno truthers. We have people like demanding that they restore the statue. We have people doing, riots on campus to Rock and Roll Part 2, which is really fucked up, considering that that's a song by a child molester.
Right.
It just all this stuff, and these people refusing to see reason. Now, again, it's not everyone, but I really,
it's enough,
try and I'm all about like second chances. I'm all about, restoring image and whatever. And then I see the Penn State fans and I'm just like, really making it hard for me, guys. Really don't want to associate with you.
It's a shame. And no, that does speak volume. I mean, I don't give a shit about Penn State. I never have, one way or another. I don't hate them. I don't love them. They're just a thing that exists that I didn't have any relationship to. And I see, the things you've shared with me, and I see the things that I see on various websites, ESPN.com or whatever. You see all these parties on campus when they get their bowl eligibility back, and I just sit there being like, what's wrong with you fucking people? Like, honestly, what's fucking wrong with you?
Yeah.
You are celebrating the fact that a punishment your school deserved because they covered up a coach that was molesting children numerous times, 40-plus counts, and the punishment's being taken back, and you're celebrating as though, like, you never deserved it in the first place.
But football, Corey.
Fucking fuck football.
But football.
Jesus Christ.
But football. Like that's it. That's it. I mean, and say if you could sum up this whole situation into 2 words,
but football.
But football.
Hey, if this is
that's it.
If this is basketball, they never throw the ball in the court again.
Yeah.
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 It's pathetic. It's I don't know, the NCAA can go rightly fuck itself.
I mean, this is why I really do not watch college sports anymore. Any sport, because no matter what, like even you say basketball would get a different punishment, blah blah blah. It's all under the NCAA, and I cannot support that bullshit.
I mean,
really
I'm specifically referring to like the Penn State basketball team, the team that doesn't generate all the money that a bigger program does. You know what I'm getting at.
Yeah,
I mean, you know what I followed this fucking fall? Not college football, college soccer. I did. I followed it, and I have, the Watch ESPN app on our Apple TV, and I watched a couple Syracuse games, and I was like, you know what? This is nice. There's nothing weird about this. I don't know if you watched the playoff at all, but I just hated every second of all of it. Just all of it. Just the whole fucking thing.
I did hear about it, but I've lost interest. I'm really at the point anymore where like the only sports I'm remotely interested in are professional soccer and professional basketball. I mean, like that's just it.
Even the NFL.
Even the NFL. The NFL's
it's the fucking worst. I didn't watch anything. I read a great article. I almost said it again. I read a great article, beer number 4, on ESPN. I think it was at the end of last week before the conference championships games. And the article was, either way, what happens this weekend, you'll be confused. And it just touched on all the things the NFL does wrong on a regular basis. And it was so right. It was so wonderful. And I was shocked that actually ESPN allowed something like that to get put out, because how ESPN works. I mean, after college football announced this playoff, they just bought the shit out of it, and all they did was post articles about how amazing the playoff was going to be for the next 6 weeks. I mean, give me a fucking break. That's another thing I don't care about anymore. Getting old and grumpy.
So that's our horns down.
A little bit.
Yeah. And that also is our podcast for the week.
That's sad.
I know, right? This was a good one. We got animated in this one.
Yeah.
Reminder for you folks: check out the Horns Up blog for more content. We have album reviews, we have song reviews, you name it. Our weekly content is up there. It's www.hornsupmetalshow.com. You can like us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We are facebook.com/hornsuppodcast, Twitter and Instagram @hornsuppodcast. Subscribe to the Horns Up podcast on iTunes, on Stitcher, on Podbean, you name it, we are there. Tell your friends. We certainly appreciate when you spread the word. And this has been episode 36 of the Horns Up podcast. Thank you as always for stopping by. And remember, live,
love,
plow,
horns up.
We'll see you next week.